This is Raymond Kinman, and this is Real Estate from the Road. Today we're going to take a trip up to Schweitzer Mountain and see how much snow is left. We're about 2 weeks after the season here in Sandpoint, so it'll look a little bit different when we get to the top. Last week we talked about what you need to do when you're first starting to make an offer purchasing a house in Idaho. We got to the point where you had an accepted offer. So today we're going to do a little discussion about what happens then. So you've got an offer that's been accepted. If you're the buyer, you've promoted the offer and it's been accepted by the seller. So then what happens? So the next thing that needs to happen immediately almost is you need to deposit your earnest money. So in Idaho, there's no set amount. So typically it's just the amount that's agreed to by the buyer and the seller. So usually the default is that you have 3 business days to deposit that earnest money. Typically it's with the title company. Sometimes it's with the listing agent's brokerage, but typically it's with the title company. So in most cases you have the default is 3 business days after everybody signs. So then you basically take the last signature, whoever signed the last document. Usually that's the seller, because they'll have agreed to whatever the last document you're working on, a counteroffer, whatever it is. So then the next business day starts that countdown. So if you sign everything on a Monday, the next business day is Tuesday. So you would have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday would be the day that earnest money is due. If you sign everything on a Friday, the next business day isn't till Monday. So then you would have till Wednesday to start that. So it starts the day after your whatever the last signature is. So that's the next thing that you're going to run into. You need to, if you're out of town, you need to make provisions to wire that money in. Something that's real important this day and age is if you're wiring money, you need to make sure that you get wiring instructions from whoever it is you're wiring that money to. So let's say it's a title company. You would want to have the exact instructions with the account number, where it's going, and the routing number, and all that information from the title company. And I would recommend that you still call and verify. There have been instances where somebody has wired money to some place that wasn't where it was supposed to go, and it's very difficult to get your money back if that's happened. So I've been fortunate. I've never had it happen in one of transactions that I'm working on, but I have heard of it happening. So just please make sure that you verify the wiring instructions, because it may be difficult to get your money back if it goes somewhere that's not supposed to. So at that point, you've either given them a check or wired money. They typically won't take cash. So however you've got that earnest money, you've got it in place, or you've got a plan for how to get it there. So then what do we need to do next? What needs to happen next? And the next thing typically is you're going to have an inspection period. That inspection period is also in the contract in Idaho based on business days. And so typically it's 5 business days. I like to have 10 business days, which works out to be 2 weeks, because it just gives you a little bit more time, but it's not a lot of time. So as soon as you get a contract agreed to by everybody, you need to be talking to your agent, which hopefully it's me, but if it's not, it's whoever else you're working with. You need to be talking to them and making sure that that you've got an inspector lined up. A lot of times the agent in the area where you're buying a house will have some resources that you can, a list of people that you can contact, and you need to do that pretty quickly, because if you're reaching out to inspectors and they're a week out and you only have 5 business days, you don't have time to put that off very often, very, very long. So it's just real important that you jump on that right away. We try to get the inspection set up just immediately, because it's typically not the same day. It's going to be several days out. So you also want to make sure that the house has all of the utilities on, so that if you're maybe it's a house that's vacant, if the power's not on or the water's not on, then it's going to be difficult for that inspector to inspect those things. So you want to make sure that the house is fully functional. If it's a piece of property, it's a different situation. There's a little less things to check. But on a house house, everything needs to be fully functional so that the inspector can check it. So then you've got that set up. So you got your earnest money taken care of. Everybody understands what you need to do with that. You've got it in place, and that inspector comes out. A lot of people want to know if you should be there during the inspection, and that can go either way. Some inspectors don't want you to be there because they have a job where they're crawling around under the house, and they have a lot of stuff that they're doing, and really you're not going to be real helpful a lot of times. Some of them like you to be there, some of them don't. So it's always good just to ask. It is helpful to be there towards the end of their inspection, because then they can go over and show you what they found. So my recommendation is that you always talk to the inspector. Talk to a couple of them. They may have different pricing. They may have different turnaround times for how long it takes them to get the report. Remember, the report is what we need, because your inspection period, it doesn't really matter what's going on. It's over when it's over. And if you haven't gotten it done for whatever reason, contractually, it really doesn't matter. So if the inspector comes back and they say, well, I can get it done in 5 days, but it's going to take me 3 more days to get you the report, that may put you over the time limit. And what happens in Idaho is that time limit, when it expires, it's gone. So if you haven't made an offer, not an offer, if you haven't responded to the inspection and asked if maybe the house needs a new roof or something major, and if it's already gone by and that's extended, sorry, that's my phone. If it's already gone by and you haven't extended that deadline, then it's just too bad. That means you've accepted the house the way it is, and that inspection in contingency disappears. So that is a very, very important timeline to know about. You need to know when that deadline is, and you need to be sure of it, and you need to be very, very strict with it, because the seller is not obligated to give you more time. So if you're a day late sending in your inspection request, and you're saying, I'd like a new roof or a new heating system, or maybe you're canceling it because it's so terrible. If you've gone over that limit, they're not obligated to do that. They might, but they're not obligated to help you. So that's really, really important. You need to know exactly when that timeline is. You need to talk to your agent, and you guys really need to pay attention to it. So once the inspection gets done, then you'll have a report, and they'll go through, and they'll always find something. They're very, very thorough, so they're going to always find something, and that's when you need to sit down with your agent and really talk about what things are important and what aren't. They may find lots of things that really are not a big deal, but they're just kind of things that need to be addressed, and so it just depends. Their houses are all different. I've seen ones where there was catastrophic issues with them, that the house was no good. I mean, the people, it would have cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair the house. So you need to decide. You need to sit down with your family and your agent and decide what are important and what's not. At that point, you have a couple different options, and you could take, let's say you find something wrong. You can say to we have a document that we prepare, and in that document you could indicate that you want to have the item. Let's say it's a roof. The roof needs to be replaced. You could say, well, I'd like to get this roof replaced. The likelihood of that being able to happen before your house closes is not very likely, especially if it's winter time or if the contractors are busy. So it may not be possible, even if the sellers want to. So what happens in that situation a lot of times is that the sellers and you as a buyer would just agree at a value. You get some different estimates. I would always suggest to get 3 estimates, so you have a good idea about what that's going to cost. And then you say, okay, this is what's going to cost. We'll just make up a number. Say it's $20,000. It's going to cost $20,000 to put a new roof on this house. So we'd like to reduce the price by $20,000. That's a real common, probably the most common situation. You need to be aware of what kind of loan you have. Sometimes the loans, they won't allow that as an option. They need to have the house in the correct shape. VA is an example. of loans that a lot of times will require that. They won't let you just lower the price. They have to fix the issues. Here's a real pretty view. We're going around this corner here, as you can see. People get down to take pictures. Get a little higher, so we're starting to get in the snow. So that's one option. You could have the whatever the issue is repaired, or lower the price to offset the repair for when you have it. The second option is you could say, well, I don't want the house. And maybe it's something that's serious that you don't want to have to deal with, and you've just decided this isn't the right house for you. And that also happens sometimes. So in that case, you have to be within that time frame, whatever your inspection period is. You need to send the notice. The agent will send the notice to the other side, and you say, well, this isn't the right house. This is too big of an issue. We don't want to move forward. And in that case, the whole contract can be canceled based on that. So that's the other option. The third one is maybe, or I guess kind of really the second, but maybe you offer and you say you want to have something fixed, and the seller says, no, I don't want to do that. Maybe you say, we're going back to the roof example, maybe you say, I'd like the price reduced $20,000, and the seller says no. So then what do you do? At that point, you have a couple options, kind of just mentioning that you could say, well, you can maybe offer a lower price. Say, well, maybe I'll take $15,000 or I'll take $10,000, and you just absorb the cost, the other part of that. So that's one option, which basically you're countering back to them what you would like to have the repair be. You could say, well, if you're not going to repair it, I'm not going to buy the house. And you have the right to say that, because that's still within your inspection period. Or you could say, that's fine, and you'll accept the house the way it is. You have to realize that if you don't stand the ground, if that's important to you during that inspection period, you can't come back later and say, well, I really wish you would have dropped the price $20,000. It doesn't work like that. It has to be within the context of that inspection period. So if you're not sure, you really need to sit down and talk to your agent about it, because that's not something that you'll be able to go back and do. So those are really the options. You can accept the house the way it is, despite what's on your report. You can cancel the whole contract because it's so terrible that you don't like it, or you can go and ask them to make repairs, and then you go down the negotiation part of the repairs at certain times. So that's really the second big negotiating period when you're buying a house. The first one is trying to get everybody to agree on the price, and the second one is getting past that inspection period. So I suggest to all of our buyers that I work with that we really focus on that. We really spend some time and be thoughtful and precise in what we're doing during that period, because it is the second most important time period for negotiations. That can make or break a house as far as what needs to happen or what needs to be addressed. So those are the things that you need to look at kind of during the second phase of purchasing a house with your earnest money, and how to deal with the inspection period. So we're coming up here to Schweitzer. You can see we're in the snow, and we're getting up to the resort part of the drive here. And again, my name is Raymond Kinman. I'm with Three Lakes Real Estate here in Sandpoint, and I'd be glad to help you if you have any questions on any of the stuff that we talked about today. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. My direct cell phone number is area code 208-255-8571. And if you like what we're looking at and you think you might want to spend some more time in a place that is really spectacular like this, then give me a call and we can certainly talk about that too. Again, this is just after the ski season ended, so there's not anybody up here, and everything's starting to melt, and it's a little muddy and kind of gross right now, but it's still worth a beautiful view. So we're going to go up here. You can see there's the slopes up there. They still have snow on them. Still really pretty. And we're going to swing around here the other way and show you what really makes this different than most other ski resorts in the entire country. Hopefully we have a good view today. Let's see if we can get here. You can see. It's a little hazy today. But right out there, back up so you can see, is Lake Ponderay. So as you're skiing up here, you are getting to see our gigantic 53-mile lake all above. I don't know if you can see it out there in the distance, but it's a little hazy today. But not many places in the country where you can drive. The drive we just took went from Sandpoint up to the top of the mountain. So where we were was about a mile away from the beach in Sandpoint. So pretty spectacular place. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed our drive today. Hope you learned something. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me or message me, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day.